There is a rule of thumb that I discovered when traveling in Africa. Don't believe maps, and don't believe even Google Maps. It lies to you. They don't like you. They want to kill you. The map makers, that is. So what do you do? How do you navigate around? Well, you can use the maps as guidelines for the most part, but listen to the locals. But not just one local, because they will steer you in the wrong direction. For example, let me give you an example, okay? So there we were, just kind of puttering along in Lewis's small little van, having a fine time, going along this road. And we were taking this road, which, according to the maps, was paved. It was not paved. It was a dirt road with big, big potholes in it. Oh, they hurt so bad. And so there we were, just kind of tootling along. And we came upon a Land Rover. We're like, wow, this is kind of a nice car out in the middle of nowhere here. By the way, we were taking this road because it was a shortcut back to Freetown, instead of going 2.5 hours more in a different direction. So this Land Rover, a very nice vehicle, we kind of slowed down and we were kind of looking at it, and there on the side it said World Vision. Pretty cool stuff, yeah. And here we were, volunteering with Mercy Ships, so it's like, hey, a fellow NGO, let's talk with them. And so they kind of rolled down the windows, and we were smiling and laughing, like, hey, white guys. And actually the driver was a black guy. He was probably their guide. And, the driver was really nice. And he said, are you continuing down the road? And we said, yes. And he said, you will come across many puddles. Like, yes, I know. We've been swerving around these things. And he said, no, do not swerve around the puddles. He said, believe me, just go straight through the middle. We were like, what? Why would you go through the middle of a puddle? But he was very adamant about this. We're like, okay, well, we're going to go through the puddle. Okay. So they left, continued, and we continued on our way. And big chocolatey milk type puddles. And the first one, we were coming up to it, and Lewis just gunned it. And wow, just this rooster tail on either side of us. It was just magnificent. The splash that we made. And of course we all cheered and screamed and hollered and braced ourselves, of course, because it's quite an impact going through these lakes. And we got to the other side of this puddle. We made it. We're like, okay, maybe that worked. All right. The next one, we made it through. The next one, we did not. And I remember sitting in the middle of the van, sort of between the two seats. And suddenly, the road disappeared in front of me. And all I could see was brown in front of the vehicle. But I couldn't just see it, I could feel it. It's like, well, that's weird. My feet, they're wet. And I looked down. It was seeping through the floor. This puddle was so deep. Well, turned out that the van was no longer like this. Our little van was like this. Yes, we were stuck nose first in a very, very big hole. It takes a big hole to swallow a van like this. That is no longer a puddle anymore. That is a sinkhole. Well, couldn't believe it. We were like, okay, great. Now how are we going to tow this thing out? And so we sort of moved everything to the dry side of the van. And, we tried to rock it out. We tried to pull it out. I was up to my thighs in this really gross, disgusting water, trying to peel this van up, and it just would not work. Well, we thought, okay, let's make our way down the road walking, and maybe there's a house up there, and maybe they have, I don't know, a tractor out in the middle of nowhere. we were really hoping there'd be someone. We really hadn't seen anybody except for this World Vision vehicle. And so we ended up actually walking down the road and finding a big truck coming towards us. Oh, and we jumped and waved and screamed and hollered. We were so excited to see them. I could imagine these people out in the jungle suddenly seeing a bunch of white people just being crazy. They're like, uh-oh, are they robbing us? Are they, is this a roadblock? What is going on here? But they stopped and they asked us if we were okay, and then we were like, no, our van is down the road and it's like this in a puddle. And they were like, why did you go through the middle of the puddles? And then at that point, you could hear the World Vision guys in the distance, you know, giggling and cackling as they disappeared into the sunset. Yeah, there must be a feud going between Mercy Ships and World Vision. There must be, because they were so clear. Go through the puddle. Shouldn't have gone through the puddle. But anyway, these people in this big truck, they had a rope and they pulled us out, and we were so thankful to them, and we even offered them some money. We're like, look, you know, obviously you're going somewhere, and we feel really bad for, you know, putting you behind schedule for your delivery. And they're like, no big deal. No, it's good. Which is funny because I don't think anything is scheduled in Sierra Leone. It's just like, hey, you show up when you show up. That's just their culture. But they didn't. They didn't take any money at all. Some little kids were there, and of course they demanded something. And it's like, these little kids didn't help. Come on. But of course, Lewis was so happy to get his van out that he gave these little kids my only power bar. I will never forgive Lewis for giving away my power bar. I was so livid. I was like, Lewis, we have hundreds of dollars worth of money hidden throughout this vehicle. Why did you give them my power bar? There is no way in all of Sierra Leone to buy a power bar. They probably didn't even like it. But he just laughed, and he did feel kind of bad, actually. He's a really nice guy. So I didn't press it anymore after I sort of got angry at him. My power bar! No! So, back to asking people for directions in Africa. Never take one African's word for directions. Never take two, but rather get a sampling of 3 Africans and then extrapolate your results, and then the odds are that 2 of them will agree and 1 of them will not agree. He'll probably point you in the opposite direction, and then go with the 2. We called it navigating by democracy. It was like, so, not kidding you, not kidding. It actually works. You'd come up to an intersection, and there was like, 16 different possible routes that you could go. And you'd say, what is the way to Bambuna? And you'd ask this group of guys, and then one of the guys would say, it is that way, it is that way. And you'd say, thank you very much, thank you. You'd drive forward about 20 feet, and there'd be another group of guys just kind of sitting there, and then you'd ask them the same question. That way. Drive forward, you see where this is going. That way. Opposite direction. So you go with what the 2 guys suggested. And very rarely did that ever point us in the wrong direction. So there you go. That's how you navigate throughout Africa. Well, according to 2 out of 3 Africans, we're supposed to go north.